good to see the women in rural communities being directly engaged, having their voices heard, and seeing them mobilize and empower themselves.
One of the things I noticed most prominently was the level of encouragement and enthusiasm from the participants, especially those within the women's group. It's very encouraging when I see persons, appreciating the advice, the input from agencies and so on, and just ways of improving themselves, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship.
I was very excited and very amazed to see the extent to which the women have testified that the training really benefited them, because very often you have workshops and so on, and that's the end of it, but it's one of the few occasions that I've had the experience of meeting a group of women, or a group who have been exposed to training, capacity building, and in a position to say that, okay, this training that I have received has helped me, I have benefited.
They seem very motivated, they know what they want, they have a clear understanding of different elements of business and what is needed, also taking into consideration the environment around them in terms of climate change, as well as even policy issues that could impact their success and the development of women in business.
It was a really interesting session, very informative in terms of how these women have been able to get themselves into a group and how they have come from different backgrounds, but similarities in each of them, and how they've been able to work together to produce and actually form a little NGO that they are in the process of registering. So it has been really inspirational to hear their stories, and I really do look forward, based on our discussions, to having them actually send in an application to the JEF Small Grants Program.
My name is Zakia Uzuma Wadada. I am a consultant with CANARI on the CANARI UN Women Project, which is designed to empower rural women with respect to the establishment of micro-enterprises based on the use of sustainable natural resources and taking into consideration impacts of climate change. Once the women were identified, there was a sensitization meeting which gave them a sense of what the project was about and introduced them to the CANARI and the project. Following that, there were a series of training workshops which was designed to assist them to understand the whole issue about natural resources, sustainable use of those, and to kind of look at the feasibility of the enterprises.
We needed the assessment, we needed training in marketing and things like that.
We identified that we needed to source and store a lot of the fruits and vegetables that were available at a certain time.
I found out that one oil is not really good to use when you're making soaps.
We need containers for lotions, creams, hair foods, and those sorts.
And then we went on to actually assist them in coming together, because we also think that these were all rural women from different parts of the country. We had a group, about 4 or 5 of them were from Point, but they had some similarity in the things that they did. So you find that there were a group that were doing cosmetics, we had a group that were doing wines, we had, what was the other group? We had a group that was into landscaping and production of seedlings and plants, etc. So you found that they were able to have, there were some commonalities within certain, among some of them. And in addition, there were weaknesses and strengths, and we thought that there were ways in which they could give support to each other. Actually, out of the workshop where we were looking at enabling mechanisms, they themselves identified this whole issue of working together and so on, which we were hoping that would have happened, because remember, one of the objectives of the project was to assist them in developing a network. So they understood that of themselves, the importance of networking and so on. So we also, at one of the workshops, we went through the challenges of networking, a lot of which they themselves were able to identify and so on. So we had network meetings, and at one of them, they had an opportunity to meet with the support agencies. So as part of the meetings with the network and the coaching and mentoring process, they were prepared to present to the network. So they prepared their presentation, and they were able to communicate to the agencies what their challenges were. And a lot of it came out of some of the discussions that we had during the network meetings. And they began to kind of construct themselves into what Yola introduced you as WINAR, Women in Natural Resources, a network of women in natural resources.
We have begun the process of having an account open in the name of WINAR. We are registering as an NGO with community development, and we are preparing ourselves to register as a registered business with the Ministry of Legal Affairs. That is a little technical process, and we would need some legal guidance and so forth in putting together that document. But we have already drafted a basic policy for the organization, listing officers and what their responsibilities are and things of that nature.
Each of the 14 women who stayed in the project, we did start with 15, but each of the 14 women who stayed in the project have been assisted in a small way with a grant of $1,000 US to bring their businesses forward in some way.
I had to get people from the area to pick my fruits for me, which they did, and I had, from the grant that I got, I had to pay them from that,
I just recently started my business, so what I had to do was buy small, because I used my money, and wait until when I sell, and then to buy again. So the money I used it to buy my ingredients in bulk. I was able to do a lot more research and find out about the correct oils to use.
With the small grant, I end up buying a deep freeze. So I'll be able to store away my fruits.
We did a case study on Eula Joseph. She did a project in collaboration with the Dorcas Women's Group, of which she is the president, and they decided to build a greenhouse that would give them some sense of protection from the weather as they try to develop a nursery for plants and so on that they can sell. So that they would gather the plants within the forest nearby and so on, and or purchase depending on what kind of plants they wanted to sell, and under the greenhouse they have a nursery where they prepare the plants and so on. What were the challenges that the women faced? What were some of the issues that became very evident during the implementation of the project? And based on that, what were some of the policy recommendations that would be made as a result of the actual experiences of the women, and also the experience of implementing the project, what were some of the challenges and therefore some policy recommendations that would come out of that?
Our interactions with Zakia, at times Zakia is very, very busy, but you know you have that confidence. Once you send her an email, Zakia will get it and get back to you, you know, at some point in time.
The process of mentoring was considered a critical part of the project because, you know, you were taking, you know, rural women and trying to put them through a very sophisticated process of forming themselves into a network, developing projects, implementing projects, reporting on them in a very short time. And therefore, it was really critical for them to have continued guidance and support throughout that process, because some of them really did find it quite a challenging, daunting, and in some cases overwhelming process. And as part of the evaluation process, we held a focus group meeting with them and the agencies so that we could get feedback from them with respect to their own views about the project as one part of the evaluation process.
Well, there are a lot of good things that happen in terms of meeting people, meeting new people, partnering with people.
People from different rural areas can come together and form ourselves into a group and listen and understand and benefit from each other.
I will continue selling the coconut oil and the avocado oil in future, that this will be a main product. And even within the group winner, there are individuals who use coconut oil within the production of their bath and body products so that they can purchase from me.
Well, I couldn't face a crowd. I used to be so frightened and things. And since I came into the winner, the organization, I could stand up, I could keep a conversation, you know.
They did eventually set up online communication because they're from very they live very far distances away from each other.
When I had joined this class, I probably was, I think, the only person that did not have an email address. Right now I have an email address. I don't have access to internet as everybody else, but I have an email address. I learned how to send an email. I was not computer literate. I'm learning a little bit.
With respect to climate change, well, we had, as I said, in the workshops, we had discussions about climate change and how it could impact their business, particularly since the majority of them were doing business. Their businesses were based on the use of natural resources.
I make wine from that. Whatever fruits come in, and every 3 months there's a fruit, I make wine. Well, of course, with climate change now is a little challenge, you know, so I have to store my fruits, you know, and preserve it so that I could always have year round.
They spent a lot of time with going and, you know, and coming to get stuff and so on. So we thought that assisting them, guiding them in with respect to purchasing a lot of the materials that they were using wholesale was, one, going to reduce their production costs, give them the opportunity to produce more because their raw material would be ready at hand, and also to reduce their carbon emissions.
I went into dry natural resources, right? So all my material and things based on natural from the environment, then dry natural resources. You have the torso, you have the donkey eye, you have the jumbie bees.
Some of them decided that they would plant their own raw materials. Like there was one sister who does craft, so she decided that she would plant the crops to give her the seeds.
I used to buy my torso and buy other little things, but since I came into winter program for the Christmas, right, when she came and she told us that we need to plant and we need to do certain things, I went home and I started to plant one time, right? So in 3 months' time, My torso is kind of big already. The torso is bearing. I have my shack seeds to put in shack. I have the shack seed. I have the chandelier. All those things you could get to makeup arrangement, dry arrangement.
Even though they could be impacted by climate, the availability or perhaps the level of production. The fact is that she had it in her own space and therefore had a little bit more control as to its availability. So in those little ways, we were able to get them to pay attention to the issue of climate change.
Most times you go to a training program and they give you information, and they leave you. But with this one, they stayed with us.
I used the network meetings as an opportunity to coach them about the actual implementation of the project. The completion of the application forms was very challenging for most of them because it really required them thinking out thoroughly what they wanted to do. So they say, yes, we want to do that. But then, how are you going to do it? What are you going to do first? What do you hope to get out of doing this? How is this going to change your, the status of your business? So they had to think out these things and find a way to also express it.
The first program that actually offered real assistance because they wanted to know exactly, all right, yes, you're a woman in business, but what it is you want, what it is you need, right? And then, bam, they come, okay, we need infrastructure, we need training, we need this, we need that. And they actually came and give us this little grant that, well, for me personally, this has helped immensely.
We also did site visits as part of the steps to see. We did it at the beginning, particularly for those who wanted to do infrastructural projects that required infrastructure, like, if they wanted to build space for them to store their goods and to sell and so on. And so we visited each of the 14 projects. We did site visits on each of the 14. But just before the project ended, we went to see where they had got, how far they had reached with their implementation, and also to give them guidance with respect to the reporting. So those were some of the steps that were taken to assist them in managing the businesses.
My challenge personally was the IT aspect of the program. When it came to sending up everything over the internet and the computer, we had to be commuting from Moruga to Princestown or Moruga to San Fernando in order to send in the information over the net by use of the computer center.
Experience with the proposal writing, doing this budget, that was a little challenging, understanding exactly what they wanted, right? Because when people explain something to you, sometimes a little detail might be missed and you will put it in and it's the wrong thing that you put in, right?
Being able to interact with everybody, because we were dealing with Heights of Aripo, Toco, Point Fortin, Matlock, Cora, Chabonas, Tobago, it was a challenge. How could we keep in touch with each other outside of the immediate sphere of CANARI? And being forced into using the internet and texting was really able to bridge that gap for us.
Because I am doing a bachelor's degree at cost-started management and entrepreneurship, sometimes my class would fall on days that I have to attend workshops, so I have to kind of make a choice between keeping my GPA up to keep gate funding or to come to workshops. So sometimes I would discuss with my lecturer and attend another day class so I could attend the workshops.
because it's so much learning, you know, so that was mostly a challenge. And getting here from San Fernando or wherever we have workshops was not a problem. You don't need to have a passport and a visa.
I think also managing their time, how they used the time that they had for the project. Many of them waited until just before the project to do some of the things that they had to do. The challenges associated with implementing the project, even though I really think that the women were fitted to the project because of the level of enthusiasm and interest, and because it was evident that the project can benefit them and did benefit them. I think that some of the challenges that they had, perhaps there should have been a way for us to identify some of those ahead of the project so that the approach might have been a little different with respect to building their capacities in those areas of weakness. So even though we may have taken them through a process and they were guided and mentored and coached through it, I'm not sure if they had to do it again on their own. They will understand what it takes. But whether they have actually built the capacity, I think that remains with a question mark. Some of them may have. I think some of them may have. But I think that I would not be feel 100% that if I went to one of them and give them the same form and ask them to do it again, that they would be able to do it well on their own. But I know that they understand what is required. Because even if they have an appreciation of the process and even perhaps have reached a point where they can mentally work it through, they still have that problem of articulating, you know, really writing that down and using the language well enough to convey what it is they want to do. Because climate change is still not a direct impact issue, we had to really look at the ways that their own behavior and their own activities were not contributing to carbon emissions, but they would do things that would reduce it. So that was basically the approach that was taken. I really was happy that we were able to assist each of them and to give each of them an opportunity to build their businesses and to feel at the end of this process, I have benefited. And that came out very clear in their reports. I think they really felt that they have benefited, but I think that it was, of course, naturally a challenge to monitor 14 persons doing mini projects in that short period of time.
I'm taking away from the workshop the vast knowledge about the environment, that what we see, what we have is what's there, and that we need to treat with it in a way that we can leave something for tomorrow.
I gained a lot in that I learned, there were other avenues where you can access grants and other training that is meaningful and is essential where the business is concerned, because you never learn too much. There's always room for improvement.
I am taking away the little knowledge that I learned here. I am going to build on it and continue planting.
Now I know a little about the computer, but as I said in the meeting today, that I am going to learn more about it.
We form a group and we want to stick together and be able to go out and sell, sell our products, market our products, so be able to make more money.
The great thing about this meeting was that we had so many different agencies that were here today, and everyone from all the agencies want to help these women and they want to help them do what they were set out to do in this formation of this NGO organization.
I did try to bring to the table the forefront of NETCO and what we do and how we can support. Going forward, we have identified one person within our training ambit of what we do who will deal specifically with women, impoverished women, rural communities, and all of those issues that we have bombarding women today.
you have to build on what you have learned. Never keep refreshing yourself, keep reinventing yourself, looking for new ideas, new ways, talking to people, interacting with people. That way you get ideas, you get different points of view, and that's the way the whole thing can be sustained.
As individuals, from time to time, things that are going on in our life, sometimes we fall off track, sometimes we lose motivation, we lose courage. But it's good to have women who are similar to you doing some of the same things that can not only provide the encouragement but also assist in experience, sharing of resources.
Certainly, with the use of the technology that is available, they can now connect, and that is a way of keeping them together, to share resources, to share ideas.
They mentioned online marketing as one of the areas. Because they're now becoming techno-savvy, it means definitely that everybody should be accurate with what is happening within the technical world, if you want to call it that. So that's one area definitely that they would definitely need to expand.
These agencies want projects, they have money to spend, so they need to spend it. So it's really up to the groups. We can, the agencies can go out and say we're here, but it's for the groups to come to us.
As a group, they're able to take advantage of certain grants and opportunities that organizations such as community development typically give to wider groups that benefit large numbers of persons as well as communities.
We're interested, so it's really networking and maintaining those relationships that are established.